Hi, welcome to Art of Academia, a weekly podcast featuring interviews with leading scientists and insider takes on life in academia, hosted by Komal and Madan, researchers from Cancer Science Institute, Singapore.
What's up with you?
What's up with me? What are the three words I need? What are the three things we said? Challenges?
Recommendation?
No.
Oh, for the
this-
intro.
The intro.
Uh,
Victories?
I mean, victories, if you're talking about victories, I think starting meditation has been a big one for me.
Yeah. How has that
I
been
don't know
going?
how I just forgot talking about it. I think just because like today was a long day.
Probably.
But yes, I have been struggling with it for such a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I think we started these discussions last year.
It's been a year.
At least these discussions. Remember the first time we talked about it in
Should probably say what
Newtown?
it is.
Just spirituality, meditation, these ideas.
Yeah.
Remember, it was in Newtown.
Okay, yeah.
That was, I think, last year. And then,
Fairly long time, yes.
yeah, so I tried waking up multiple times. First time there, when you gave it to me, I had a 1 month trial.
Yeah.
Tried here and there, this and that. But so, again, the content is so huge.
There's a lot,
But I definitely think that the course is something one should start with if they are getting into this for the
Did
first
you
time.
not try the course last time?
I think I just did some sessions with you in person, remember?
Right.
That was it. And then at my place, I think I just did once or twice. This kept on happening. But only recently, after my Thailand trip, I was like, I really want to start this. It can't be like when I'm reaching these places. When I'm coming to Thailand, I feel like I want to get into it. I feel like... So I came back, got the subscription.
Yes, finally.
I think that really helped. And of course, the motivation was high.
Yeah.
And really listening to the meditation, these 10-minute sessions, what he has to say, and also like supplementing it with other content that's there on the app, very motivated.
Yeah.
And now that we are doing the retreat, just jumped into it.
Say more about the retreat.
Yeah, of course. Do you wanna?
Okay, yeah.
wanna talk
So
about it?
just randomly, I think
Maybe
I
just
have.
describe a little what's happening.
Yeah, so I think I mentioned in a previous episode, but been meditating for about 2 years almost.
That's insane.
Almost exclusively, I've been doing it with the Waking Up app. There are a few books I've read, so they sometimes have like descriptions of things to try. So I've done that. What comes to mind is The Little Book of Being. So that one was quite nice. So I think I sat with those for a bit, but 99% of what I've done is with the Waking Up app.
Yeah.
But then this Saturday, randomly I decided to look it up, and then I found the one we are going. So this is Palelai Buddhist Temple in Bedok. They are Theravada tradition, as we just found out today. But they are organizing like a free retreat, and I think they do that regularly.
This group setting just gives you so much motivation, and just the vibe there, seeing people around,
Yeah.
it's just amazing.
So that's actually what convinced me. So Sam has this. This was a conversation. Sam, we're on first name basis, by the way. Sam Harris,
The other day, Sam told me.
the host of the Waking Up app. So he has a conversation with someone, and I think someone's like interviewing him about meditation stuff. He asks him about the utility of retreats, and his answer is basically that there's something about doing it for an extended period of time that gets you into like a mode of seriousness that you don't get when you're practicing by yourself. Even if you're like very devoutly practicing by yourself and like doing that every day, just the context and like the length of the retreat just puts you into a mode that you don't have access to otherwise.
That's true.
So he was like highly recommending it, and I think so we when did we start? We started on Thursday. It was 2 hours, and then today was 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Although I guess this is not a traditional retreat because we go back home after the talks, but definitely I feel the two things. One, like you mentioned, in the group setting, it's much more motivating to like continue sitting.
Yeah.
But because of the fact that you've like continued to sit for a while, I think it becomes easier to meditate as the day goes by. Like although you are combating some fatigue, right? Like of trying to concentrate, but at the same time, at least for me today, I had the feeling that it was sort of like piling up the focus.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. I think as a newbie, of course, this is sort of a leap of faith. Let's just go and see how things go. But I feel motivated for sure. Like you can see everybody is a pro meditator in this group. There's not much guidance.
Somehow everybody just seems to know their stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mentioned the 10-day retreat, right? There is
That I'm a little scared of actually.
It is scary.
Yeah. Even after today, I was just thinking, looking at these monks, the students, and what we were discussing during the lunchtime as well, would be really difficult.
Yeah, when I was first telling you guys, everybody was like, what are you scared? It's just 10 days of meditation. So of course you can get through it. I'm like, have you guys tried? It's not that easy.
I was a little too overconfident somehow.
Clearly.
I was like, sounds fun.
Yeah.
We'll be in this nice place, doing some meditation, chilling, this, that. But definitely you need quite some concentration. And after a while, when you're sleeping there as well, I don't know how things will pan out.
I think it's a good segue to what I want to talk about. Maybe I will actually start with the story that you started but you didn't say. So today while we were meditating, and there's the main Ajahn Kalyano who's giving the instructions and teaching, there are two trainees sitting next to him. One guy Asian sits on the left, and the other guy looks very Indian. I don't know if he's really Indian, but he looks Indian, South Indian. He sits on the right. Still Asian, yeah, but not, you know what I mean. And it was quite funny. Funny is not the right word, but quite interesting, let's say, observing them, because there is a little bit of a distinction, right? So they're not at the master level yet, but still, obviously, they are way ahead compared to the laymen who are sitting opposite to them. So first, when they walked in, I was looking more at the South Indian guy, presumably South Indian guy. So at first, and throughout actually, to be fair, he seems like he's very in good composure of himself. I don't know how to explain it. He has that grace when he's walking. Yeah, so at first it was just him, right? It's just like there's this guy sitting there completely, straight, still young, so you can see that he's
very
like
young. Both of them, I think, are quite young.
Super young,
yeah.
And you can see almost you can see the sincerity in his face, or like the dedication in his face, of like that he takes this very seriously.
Yes.
And my first take on that was I was just very impressed. I was like, damn, look at this like fairly young person who has like dedicated their life to this thing. And being a monk is no joke, right? You have to give up everything. Your valuables. You can't have sex, you can't get married, you can't have kids, no family. You just do this one thing your whole life. So it started off with that, and that's kind of what I want to talk about, but let me finish the story. But then a few hours in, he was, I think, very tired or something, and he was just starting to doze off, and he was actually like struggling really, really bad to stay up even. At one point his head was almost touching his knees. That's how low he was. And the contrast was quite funny. But like, of course, that happens. These things are hard. So I wanted to talk about ambition as a topic, and especially this kind of ambition where you like dedicate your whole life to like a single purpose. So things like becoming a monk. Some careers are just so idolized that the only people who make it are people who act like that. Like you don't accidentally end up in those careers. You kind of start thinking about it as a kid, and that just becomes like your number one purpose in life, and then only then you make it. So maybe being a doctor is
medicine
one,
for sure,
one like that.
Like Navy and all as well. I mean, people may fall into it somehow, but it also needs quite some high dedication, a lot of sacrifices.
Even competitive sports.
Yes.
Like at least very competitive, like very
you have
popular
to start quite
ones.
early on.
Yeah, you can't start a bit late and then you jump
you're amazing or something.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen. You really need to start early.
Go.
We talked about Go, right? That's one. You have to start at fucking 8 years old and then you're playing 12 hours a day or every day. And then that's how you become a pro player. So the thing is, this doesn't seem like a very fun life, or not a very, I don't know, I wouldn't call this the most healthy life. If you had to if you were maximizing for well-being, let's say, I don't think picking a career like that is a good choice. It's not offering you the most.
Most of these people are really not optimizing well-being,
right?
At all.
Yeah. So there is like clearly some suffering in this, and their ambition comes at
some
like
cost.
has a cost.
Yeah.
And not just some cost, but a significant cost. to their
Yes.
happiness actually.
Yeah.
But at the same
But
time,
again, like, these ambitions are giving them this happiness as well. Because I think this is also coming from the context of these monks, especially, I think. Because
Yeah,
we have
true.
been seeing
So-
them for 2 days straight.
yeah, maybe the monk one is like the odd one out here. But imagine someone who's very hell bent on. I mean, there are some jobs that are easy to shit on, like any job that's like very very inclined towards making money. For example, like you could work extremely hard and make a lot of money, and then you get what you want, but that doesn't satisfy you, right? So you keep going. In some ways, like there is no upper limit to the money thing.
Yeah.
It might even be true for sports. I'm not fully sure. Maybe there is some because for sports there is this limit of, I guess, if you're old
Getting
enough
in
you
a-
can't play anymore,
that
and
way.
then
I was like Olympic medal or something.
maybe that
That
too.
as well.
Maybe there is like the highest thing you can
Yeah,
achieve
this
in
is
your
where
thing,
this is
and
what I'm
after
looking
that,
at. Yeah, and then you retire or whatever. Like even for cricket, I guess this World Cup,
Mm.
and then we see.
yeah. But maybe you could be like, oh, 2 World Cups, 3 World Cups.
Yeah, I mean people do that. Like you see some such oldie cricketers as well.
Staying on, right? Yeah. So clearly, it seems like if you're trying to live a good life, that might not be the best thing you want to do. I don't remember how I was going to link it to the next thing, but basically, in all of these things, right, where there is like this very intense ambition, and maybe many of us perceive that as like a slightly negative thing, but on the other hand, we also really like watching it. So like movies that are like made around these, or like books that are written around these, they sell very well and people love them. Like people just gobble them up.
Yeah,
Even I
yeah.
told you about Gattaca,
Yeah.
which is just a story of some guy being insanely ambitious, trying to do it against all odds, right? So it's just curious how we on some level acknowledge that this is like something difficult, and it probably comes at a very high cost to your happiness or whatever, but at the same time we overlook that fact. Like when we hear these stories, we still say, oh yeah, like I want to do that. And there is this very nice article, I think, it's called How Karate Kid Ruined the Modern World. This whole piece is about, have you seen Karate Kid? Okay, so it starts out with this like very weak kid who gets bullied,
Yep.
and then he decides he's going to learn kung fu so that he can stand up against
Defend, yeah.
himself. And there was a very famous, of course he struggles a bit, but the article is focused on the training montage. There is like one very classical scene where there is Eye of the Tiger playing in the background, very motivational song, and before the song he's shit. He doesn't know how to do any karate. He just sucks at it, But then during the song, he's going through the training process. Right? He's working really hard, and then it's a very nice cut scene. You feel very energized. End of the song, he comes out as a great kung fu prodigy person. And then like he goes on to win the championship or whatever, right? So this guy's whole thesis is that that's not how life works. And then Karate Kid, although he uses Karate Kid, it's true for many movies, right? The training montage is like a very common trope where basically you compress all the hard work that it takes from going from shitty to like great into an unrealistically small window.
In one song.
In one song, exactly, in one song. And then just done, you can toss it aside, and now you're there to like reap the rewards. So he's basically saying how because of movies like this,
Yeah.
we also like underestimate how difficult doing anything worthwhile really is.
True.
I mean, I'll just read out a line. So he says, accomplishing worthwhile things isn't just a little harder than people think, it's 10 or 20 times harder. Like losing weight. You make yourself miserable for 6 months and find yourself down a whopping 4 pounds, which is not much. So you let yourself go at like a single all-you-can-eat buffet, and then you gain it all back. Right? Just one random example. Then he talks a bit about how sometimes we are in denial. He calls it like effort shock. So like we start something outrageous, and then like of course you put in a lot of work, right? Like sometimes you're putting in even 80-90 hours a week, but that thing just demands more from you, and then we can't imagine that something could possibly ask more than what we're already putting in. We've lost sight of how hard some things can be. And actually he doesn't really resolve it. It just stops there.
Which
Like-
angle are you coming from? Like when you got this topic?
Oh, just like two sides of this ambition thing.
Right. Yeah.
Where, like, for example, when I saw him sitting there, I couldn't help but feel this sense of, oh yeah, this is so great, I want to do that. But then I was reminded of this article, right? This, I guess, is also in parts how easily I think I will start something and become really good at something. And then you start off a plan, but of course, like later
Yeah.
on you give up and all
Yeah,
that, and it's fine. But I just thought, like, okay, maybe I should take into account the actual amount of work it takes. He has a line, and I think this was researched at some point, but I think it has been disproven since then. I don't know, but somebody said to be really good at something, it takes about 10,000 hours.
Yeah, I've heard this.
You've heard about this, which I think he converts into days. Yeah. So if you do it 2 hours a day, that's 14 years, right? Which is crazy. What the fuck? 2 hours a day? That's 14 years. I'm doing meditation 1 hour a day. So if I want to be a pro meditator, that's 28 years. Yeah, there's no resolution. I'm just ranting.
Okay.
So feel free to pitch in.
I mean, even in our field, right, of academia, you
That's a very good one.
need a lot of ambition.
Yeah.
Most of the PIs we see around us crazy ambitious.
Yeah. So I wanted to compare to a PhD. A PhD is, have you ever calculated? I think it's 4,000 hours.
Acha, I see.
Let me double check my numbers. So let's say I'm underestimating 40 hours a week, which is way underestimating. So that's 40 times 4 weeks in a month, right?
Yeah.
And 12 months in a year and 4 years. Oh no, it's closer. It's 7,600 hours.
That's long.
But why does PhD not feel like, at the end of the PhD, do you come out feeling like you're an expert? I feel like
Not at all.
Not at all.
I don't know what I am. I mean, some people might who are who started off with very focused stuff,
a very scoped.
project, and are also publishing and this that. Maybe they would feel that way. I do not feel that way. Of course, I know bits and pieces of a lot of different things. I feel I understand these things better now, but I don't feel like, oh, I am an expert of blah.
Who are people who you know are experts, like who you would consider, someone who has gone through the motions? I think you asked me a reverse question of this once, but I'm just gonna ask that again. An expert.
RPIs, maybe medics and all, yeah. Which other fields?
One thing here, if you take a complicated domain, of course that means you need longer to master it. Right? So something like medicine or even biology research, extremely complicated field. And I think, I don't know, I'm tempted to say most people don't feel like an expert until they are like 50, 60, right? Like nobody earns the title of an expert in our field unless they are like 50, 60. Even then, like sometimes you might not be.
Right.
Like you might be researching something for very long, but you might not be called
really
an
expert in that field. That's true. I mean, you have to find that niche and really develop on that for years to find things that are novel and that are adding to the literature. Only then you are an expert.
Exactly. So there is like something of, if you reduce the complexity or like if you reduce the scope at least of the problem, then on some level it's easier to be an expert. Or there is like less work.
Somewhat easier.
Yeah, less time at least. Yeah, so I'm thinking even outside of research, because this is like almost a meme, not a meme, like a very common idea in the content creation world, where if you want to become viral or like if you want to become big in this thing, you pick a niche. You do something that no one else is doing.
Yeah.
And the nice thing with social media is nobody asks you why this is important.
Yeah.
Right? You can do whatever the hell you want. As long as someone finds it entertaining, you're good to go.
Right.
So that creates a lot of very weird experts. Right? There are people who can do. So have you the GeoGuessr guy? Do you know about him?
I mean, I am aware of it, but go on.
So you know the game.
Yeah.
But do you know the guy?
I know, like, there is this one expert who just...
Right?
Yeah, who is just insanely good at it.
Ridiculous. There was a recent story on him. Let me find him. Max Autist.
Very impressive.
I can't find it. But basically, he found the location of some criminal.
Really?
Yeah. Someone gave him a picture of this... I think maybe it was something to do with Palestine.
That's so funny.
And that
Oh,
stuff.
is this very recent?
Very, very recent. I think it's that I didn't really look into the details, but basically it was that the CIA or someone couldn't track, and he found it because he just plays this game to a point where he's insanely good at it.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
I'm so damn impressed right now.
Like, imagine single-handedly being better than an entire intelligence
someplace else in the world. You're not even
Yeah, if you really, really double, triple down on a small thing and you do it to death, I guess you can become extremely valuable resource. There are other people also, maybe not so useful, but people who do trick shots on YouTube. Yeah, so they're just like bottle flips.
Oh, that way, yeah.
Or like throwing random things into random things. I don't know if it's true, but sometimes they try like 1,000, 2,000 times before they get that single shot. And of course, when they've been doing it for long enough, they get really good at it, right? It's such a silly, useless skill to have. Yeah, I think I would personally like it if I found like some very, very silly thing. But I was really, really good at it. Like, I would appreciate that. I had a friend actually. Have you heard of RuneScape?
No.
It was like a very old game, and a lot of people used to play. Like, I think it was one of the first games that blew up. And I had a friend, old friend. I knew him in undergrad, and he was 27 at that time already. So he was at some point like top 1%. Of players in that game.
Cool.
Which is really a big thing. Like, if you looked at him, you wouldn't think he has achieved much in life.
Oh God.
But no, really, it was, I think, the most useless person I know in life.
Oh my God, relax.
No, he's a nice guy. I really like him, but really didn't do much with life except for that one thing. I was like, damn, bro, that's very cool.
Does he still do it?
No, I think he stopped playing.
Retired. Reached the peak.
Yeah, I don't think you can beat that.
Right.
So related to this, right? Like, how do you just decide that this is your calling? Like, how do you find your calling? Spent a decent amount of time thinking about this. I think especially early in PhD, I was really obsessed with this idea that you need to have a calling. And when I first came in, I didn't have a topic in mind, and I was so adamant about it. I joined a lab, but I refused to take up any of the projects that was available and set up, and really like made life very difficult for myself because of doing this. Right? Like, I ended up choosing a topic that neither my supervisor nor me know anything about. So then we don't
Why did you choose our loops, man?
I don't know. It called me. Right? I don't know. It's just actually at that point it seemed like a wise thing to do because it was combining some chip with some sequencing and blah blah blah.
A little niche as well, I guess. It's not. Is it a hype topic right now?
Now I don't know, but they were like I think as soon as your field has more than 10 review papers published on it, it's not niche anymore.
Fair.
And where was I going? Yeah, so definitely early on I felt it, and when I started working on our loops also, I don't think I was fully convinced that was my calling. So I was still looking for it. Right, for a while I thought it was neuroscience. So how do you find your calling? Right, there's a book called Range by David Epstein. There he's basically he compares two people, Tiger Woods and Roger Federer. Yeah, so apparently Tiger Woods, when he was born, ridiculously young age, I think less than 1 year old, his father already handed him a golf club.
Damn, bro.
And he started putting also
cute.
at that age. So really started as early as possible, trained as hard as you can, and then clearly became best
Tiger
golf
Woods.
player.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods, right? That's just an adjective now. Anyway, so that's one kind of story. On the other hand, you have Roger Federer, who apparently didn't pick up tennis for a very long time. So he was kind of into sports, but then he grew up trying like a whole bunch of things.
Oh, I think this I'm aware of. Yeah.
Yeah.
This story seems familiar. Go on.
So he's played like a lot of different sports. I don't remember them. But then he sort of just like randomly fell into tennis.
Yeah.
And then he picked it up and then became really good at it. So the book is sort of about basically contrasting these two things
Right.
of like you decide one thing and then you pursue it at all costs and then you become very good at it versus you try a bunch of different things and then you see what works out and you go with
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And from the name of the book, you already know that he's telling you to do the latter, the Roger Federer pathway. And I do think there's some merit to it. Like if you are someone who hasn't, I guess, already have that one singular thing that's calling to you 24/7,
Yeah.
maybe the second pathway is.
Yeah, I guess like Tiger Woods didn't even have much choice. Like,
Yeah, I don't
1 years
know.
old, he has that. Of course, he got into it and got good at it, and then of course enjoyed progressing.
This
That's
might be
a different-
anecdotal.
That's an extreme, yeah.
This might be anecdotal evidence, but I think he was not very satisfied with life, even when he's winning all these tournaments. I heard about it somewhere, but I'm not sure if that's true.
I see.
Yeah, a lot of things feel like high risk. I remember a friend of mine, friend's friend. She had done, I think, computer science in undergrad, but really the most ridiculous story. You won't believe she actually did this. She really liked the Fast and Furious movie franchise. Okay,
Where is this going,
so
man?
really, it's going where you think it's going. So she is from computer science background, but for masters, she decided she wants to become a racer.
Whoa.
Professional racer.
That's so cool, though. I like it.
Yeah.
And of course, it's crazy and like risky. But
Exactly.
It sounds fun.
But so she went through with it. She
Yeah.
applied for a course in racing.
Yeah.
Someone was giving a master's course in racing in
Wow.
the UK.
Uh-huh.
She went.
Uh-huh.
Obviously very expensive, right?
Uh-huh.
So she did it. I think it was a 1-year course.
Yeah.
And then obviously didn't get a job. Very unsurprisingly didn't get a job. So now she's not doing racing. I actually don't know what she's doing. But yeah, so like this to me is like really underscoring the Karate Kid problem. Right? You feel like there is this thing that now is like calling to you.
I mean, movies have to be this way. They have to be this. They have to bring this romantic idea.
Yeah, as a movie, yes.
Which of course, but it has shaped our thinking.
Yeah, clearly.
You grow up seeing all these things.
Clearly.
Oh, this person thought about this, so ambitious, did it.
And I'm
That's
not
cool.
I'm not gonna like say she made the wrong decision or whatever, right? Like maybe she still learned things from it, but I can't help but shake that she underestimated the effort it takes to become a racer.
But I feel like sometimes you do have to take a leap of faith.
But you do have to take a leap of faith. Like so that's what I'm saying. Like there are risks you have to take, and sometimes things won't work out. It's part
Yeah.
of the process.
Yeah.
But I feel like we do somehow systematically underestimate it. I think like that's what at least hit me on some level. At
True.
least personally.
Yeah.
Whenever I think of something, I think I always underestimate how much work actually goes into it, because a big part of that is not just that it's going to be hard, but that the difficulty might make you not want to do it.
Absolutely. I mean, even if you look at the numbers right now from PhD to PIs, it's very skewed.
Yeah.
It's like so many PhDs, so many postdocs. I don't know what's happening. Of course, they're doing different things. They're figuring out, navigating. They will find something that they enjoy.
Yeah.
But again, this path is also something.
This PI thing is so extreme that even for someone like Dennis, who's like assistant professor, he doesn't know if he's going to be a full-time PI, right? Because he doesn't have tenure yet, and that is a big question mark. Even though he's very hardworking, very driven, has a nice team, has funding.
It's like
it's not
first
guaranteed.
reaching there, being able to be such a hard worker, so smart, ambitious, and then even then, it's not guaranteed.
Exactly. So, but on the other hand, sometimes when Dennis asks me, because he asks, right, like once in a while, like what do you want to do? I think everyone in the lab, nobody says they want to be a PI anymore except me. I'll be like, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
And I think,
Again, I really, even while we are discussing, and I have thought about these things earlier as well, this ambition versus, practicality.
Yeah.
I don't know how to bring that balance. You have to be ambitious to do something,
Yeah.
to move towards something and then fail or really succeed, who knows.
Yeah.
But then you also have to be aware of the practicalities.
Yeah,
You
this
can't
is
be
maybe
crazy.
a good place to bring in the thing that I didn't want to talk about. So, David White, my other favorite person.
You mean David?
David. Exactly. who is a poet. He has a book on, let me find the name. So by David White, it's called Crossing the Unknown Sea, Work as a Pilgrimage of Identity. Okay, so he's basically rebranding work as something that's good for your soul. So having like a very big ambition, working towards a goal, like doing the sacrifices that it requires and everything as something that's nourishing and not as something that's taking away from life. So that's what the book is about. It's a very nice book. I've been reading it.
Yeah.
But he has a segment in it where he's basically saying that even though, like, you know, we are all ambitious and, you know, it's like an essential part of life, one big thing of growing up is knowing that you, on some level, you certainly won't meet your ambitions. Like, they will always keep moving. And then how you sort of mature is realizing that you won't achieve everything you set out to achieve.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess, fairly easy to understand. But he has this next line that, but this is a truth that the youth should not understand.
Oh.
Right? So when you're young, you should, I guess, be dumb
Right.
and naive
I
and
like
stupid. And then do all the things, make all the mistakes.
Right.
And then I
It's
guess
quite
that's
beautiful. Yeah. You have to go out. You have to try.
how...
Whatever happens, happens. It might make an amazing story or it might not. You just come out, learn something and come out of it.
Yeah.
What do you think you are ambitious about right now?
Like romantically or practically?
Let's go both.
Okay.
Let's start with romantically.
Romantically, I think this thing, like writing, podcasting, communicating, I suppose.
Yeah.
Future me, I envision, is a blend of like Sam Harris and Visa. Maybe let's throw in some David there. I like it also.
And some Madan.
Yeah, and some other, obviously some other. I don't know, I like this idea of like, you spend your days, you know, reading or like thinking about stuff that you care about. And then you put it out in like a heartfelt way, and then just people find value in it.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
like all these things, I mean, Sam is slightly different because he also like, he's probably the least artsy of the three.
Yeah.
And the most, because he does some political commentary.
I mean, he's a neuroscientist as well.
Exactly, philosopher.
Yeah.
So there is like some academic
Technical
thing to it. So like on some level, people take his word on some level, like literally, like even about when talking about facts, right? So his voice is useful. Whereas David and Visa, they are more artsy people. David is a poet,
Right.
and Visa is like an essayist. So they are more like inspiring people. Yeah, so I think I like
A mix of both.
Yeah, somewhere in the middle.
Right.
That would be my romantic ambition.
And practical?
Practical one is probably still science, but like bioinformatics.
Right, of course.
Of course.
We have made that
We have
clear,
made it very
really
clear.
clear. You don't
Yeah.
have to reiterate this.
Yes.
I think sounds good. The first one is, of course, it is romantic just because the thing that it is, but it is something doable as well. It's not something you should be like, oh, don't know what's
It's
gonna
doable,
happen.
but I guess the question is, can you make a living off of it, right?
Yeah.
Of course, I'll do it in my free time. That's the no-brainer. And yeah.
Later in life, of course, you can do it full time, but like while you're enjoying the science as well, then why not?
Yeah, and to be fair, the science one might be less practical. So I don't know if I should really call it practical, but let's just call
at least
it.
you can make a living off of it for sure. Even if you're not a PI,
Yeah, I
you
can
are
make
you're a bioinformatician for
100%,
life. You can earn.
That I can do.
Let's see. Romantic. I think my romantic and practical are a bit mixed. So I think I've
And
discussed.
doesn't have to be these two categories, right? I just made it up because.
But these are the two extremes,
Okay,
right? What else comes in between? We are talking like really fancy stuff, dreamy stuff, and then versus something that is more doable or things that will make you earn money. Yeah, so I think this is in my head. I have talked about this earlier as well. I want to do some education, be it as a lecturer, still connected to the university, connected to students, connected to research biology and things like that. Do art.
Yeah.
So that, art, and then third is social work. So again, these three things, I think I just envision myself doing all these things together. However way that it works out, I'm very excited for this to happen.
I know.
Yeah, I am extremely excited. But while, this is what I was thinking. While you were talking about your romantic and practical ambitions, again, I think we were discussing this earlier about picking your battle and then not, trying a lot of different things. So this is also a balance that we need to sort of figure out.
Yeah.
Getting expertise in one thing does require sacrifice on some other fronts.
Clearly. This is something I refuse to accept.
Yeah,
Like I find it so hard to accept.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, I kind of want everything.
Yeah.
But it's true.
I feel you.
probably-
Yeah.
You would be some artist who sells, who, no. Okay, this is hard to think of. I need some time to workshop this. Because you have to teach, right? Yeah. I'm sure you'll come up with something, right? You'll figure it out.
Come up with that. I want that from you.